Thank you for tuning in to another edition of Odyssey House Journals, a podcast focusing entirely on addiction and recovery and hopefully providing some hope for people watching. And people are watching. I got some numbers. It was just a few weeks ago that we had a podcast with a woman named Stacy Pettit. Yeah. Remember that? She had 2,000 views on YouTube and 280 hours of viewing.
Very cool.
That's so what it meant is that people were sticking around, because sometimes people just pop it up and say, that's 8 seconds, which I think is people's attention span these days. And they decided they don't want to watch. So you got to say something sexy right off the beginning. Can you say?
Yeah, Brian, no pressure, go.
Yeah.
Say something sexy, Brian. Watch me. Watch this story. You're not going to believe the story that I have.
Yeah, I have a pretty good story.
See, there you go. Anyway, thank you for tuning in and staying with it for more than 8 seconds. Yeah. I saw some studies that, like with a commercial or a TV show or perhaps even with a YouTube, it's something like somebody will listen or watch for 8 seconds and then decide whether they're going to stay or not.
Well, if you think about like streaming videos or streaming movies, you're just like,
sure,
watch the clip and like 2 seconds and I'll be like, no, I'm not watching that movie.
Yeah. Right.
Decide if you like it or not.
Yeah.
So anyway, our guest today, I'm your host, Randall Carlisle, my co-host, Nicole Slack, and our guest today, who's going to have this story to suck you into this for the next 30 minutes, is Brian. So welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
I didn't mean to put any pressure on you. To hear people tuning out right now, boy, that's terrible. You are in recovery right now.
Yep.
And how long have you been sober?
I have 5 months this time.
Yeah.
So,
Good
yeah.
to go. And when you
This
say
time,
when you say this time, it means you've tried before.
I've tried before. I've had a few years before, and I don't know really what happened, but I started drinking again, and that lasted for about 10 years, and going back in recovery, decided I'm done with it.
So alcohol is your...
It's my main thing, yeah. I pretty much do anything I can get a hold of, though. So I've done it all, pretty much.
Well, you're in good company.
Yeah.
We're both recovering alcoholics.
Yeah, all three of us. I used to occasionally do cocaine during my drinking days, and it's not because I was addicted to cocaine. It was so I felt like it made me more alert so I could drink more.
Sure.
So it was... that's a pure alcoholic, doing cocaine so you can drink more. It's terrible. So when did it start with you? At what age and how'd you get into it?
I was pretty young. I started, drinking probably around 13 years old. Started smoking weed and stuff like that about the same time, just getting into high school. I don't know. I just felt like I was always really shy and stuff, and I always felt like alcohol brought me kind of out of my shell. Made me able to talk to people and just be social more or less. And
I can totally relate to this because that's how I felt when I drank too.
Yeah.
And I started about the same age as I was more comfortable around friends and girls and
girls,
stuff like that.
Especially.
So how did it progress to that it became a problem?
I don't know. I just started hanging out with different people, obviously, that were doing the same thing. And I think just my tolerance and stuff started rising. And so I just started drinking more. And I don't know, I always felt stronger or something. The more I drank, the more I could talk and interact with people and stuff like that. So it just progressed, and pretty soon it was just an everyday thing, and it was all day, and it just started really affecting my life pretty badly.
After how many years of drinking?
Probably not very long, really. I was 19 when I ended up going to prison for the first time.
Really?
For some different things, and so I quit using pretty much everything, but alcohol was always there. So and getting a few DUIs, going back to prison a few times. But drinking was just something that I could never let go of for some reason. Yeah, I don't really know how to explain it. It just gets a hold of you.
It's interesting. Both you and I used alcohol to be sociable. You, Nicole, used it to be
A hermit.
a hermit,
Yeah.
which is weird.
Yeah.
Didn't
I
you?
was just ashamed of my drinking. And when you say it's tough to let go of it, I totally get it. Like my days were scheduled around the liquor store times and looking sober enough to go buy more. And I understand that. But yeah, I just drank alone and went to sleep.
It got like that with me too. I just started isolating a lot. And I just felt like that was my only friend, really. You know what I mean? The only thing that I had. I mean, I budgeted everything around it. You know, I was able to, I'm a penny pincher, and that's because I would always pinch for money or, you know, for alcohol. That's what my life revolved around for a long time. So I can relate with the isolation part of it too.
What crimes, other than DUIs, did the alcohol, being an alcoholic, get you in trouble for?
Well, I found meth pretty early on too, because I felt like that would help me stop drinking.
That meth?
Yeah, so.
Good thinking.
But that just got me into more trouble. And so I got some possessions as distribution charges. And that's what ultimately ended me up in prison, was drugs. And so I always kind of felt like I wasn't really getting in trouble for alcohol, so it wasn't the big thing, you know, drugs was. And so I was on parole for quite a while, and I got off the drugs for a long, long time, but alcohol was just always there and so accessible, you know what I mean? It's just really easy to get. It just became a problem for me. I don't know what I was escaping, you know what I mean, in life or what it was, because it really became like an unsociable thing after a while, like being ashamed of it. I wasn't there for my kids, you know, and my families, you know, a lot of them are pretty religious and stuff, so I was always trying to hide it. So I was a closet drinker for a lot of years, you know.
So many kids.
I got 2 daughters. One's 25, her name's Haley, and one is 18, her name's Willow.
What's your relationship with them?
I haven't seen them in a long time. My youngest one, I don't really know very well. Me and her mom had a bad split up, and it was just kind of didn't work out like that. And my oldest one, I knew her until she was about 9 or 10. I went back to prison one time, and she ended up telling me she didn't want me in her life anymore. So I was just in and out all the time, and I respected that, but it was one of the hardest things I ever had to deal with too, you know what I mean? And instead of straightening up, I just went downhill and ended up moving to Colorado for a while. And I got sober up there for 3 years actually, and I was doing well. Met a girl and started back into it, and I kind of quit the drinking thing, but I was doing meth a lot and other things, and it just, my life fell apart, you know what I mean? And I ended up on the streets for a while up there, and ended up in the hospital for heart failure eventually, about close to 6 months ago. And my mom had came up and got me and came back here, and I was here 2 weeks and checked into Odyssey because I just heard a lot about this program, how good it was and everything, and so that's what I was looking for. A solution, something, you know.
The heart problems, is that because of the meth or?
Yeah, I hadn't done it in like 20 years until I went to Colorado, and it was just pretty bad up there. People I was meeting and hanging around, and it just, I don't know, it just ruined my life, really. It changes your mindset. It changes who you are, you know what I mean? And I don't care who you are, it does. It changes who you are. And I ended up losing all my toes and stuff, and that's because I was homeless, and I don't think I'd have been homeless, you know, if I wasn't doing all that stuff,
right.
You know, and yeah, it just did nothing. I was in a relationship with this girl that I deeply care about still. We just couldn't do it, couldn't get along, you know. It was just affecting that really bad. I started isolating again, even doing that, and I don't know, it just kind of ruined my relationship.
Does she use?
Yeah, she was using too at the time. And so, I don't know. I don't feel like, I feel like that was really the barrier between us, you know, drugs and stuff.
It's hard to be in a relationship when you're trying to stay clean and your partner is not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's also very hard when the drugs become your love instead of the person that you're with, you know. When you're just totally chasing that instead of being at home or doing whatever, you know. It affects things quite a bit. We fight a lot. And it's not that I don't care about her, but it's just, you know, I had to get out of Colorado, so I came home and wasn't doing well here. I was only here 2 weeks and just had to get something done, so I came here.
How are you finding sobriety this time?
I'm finding it a lot. I enjoy it, but I think it's a lot of a mindset too. I think I'm at that point in my life where I'm just done with it. It's done nothing productive for me at all. I'm 50 years old and I have nothing to show. I don't have my daughters in my life. I'm just tired of having nothing, being on the streets, you know what I mean? It's hard. It's hard to live that way. And my health isn't that great, you know, so I'm enjoying it. I really enjoy being sober. I really do this time. It's just, I don't know, my mind, I guess, is different, how I look at things.
JC,
Sorry?
do you feel like good things are happening, though, even though?
Yeah, I mean, you know, my mom, she's my biggest supporter. You know, I'm kind of my mama's boy, so, you know, she's proud of me. And I hadn't seen her in 10 years till I came back. And then I came here, so I seen her on Saturday. We went out, had lunch and stuff. It was really neat, you know, just being able to, I guess, have an adult conversation with my mom, you know, instead of thinking I have to hide something. I'm totally honest with her, and I'm totally honest with myself nowadays. You know, I think I lost myself along the way, went through my addiction and everything, and I don't know. I think I'm starting to find who I am again, which is good.
Yeah.
And she must be happy.
Yeah, she's very happy. She told me she was proud of me and she loved me and everything. So it was a good meeting and stuff. But
I was thinking back to what you said about your latest relationship, and the more I think about it, if you think about any domestic violence situation that people have that cops are called out on, and then you read the details of the story, it's almost always that at least one or both had been using some substance.
yeah,
You know, and I was trying to figure out why, because I remember fighting with several girlfriends because both of us were drinking.
yeah,
And that's when the fights would occur. And why do they have bouncers in bars? You know, and they don't have a bouncer in Nordstrom. You know, so and it's just the irrationality of people when they are using a substance that changes their character, their nature.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree, and I think selfishness comes into play a lot. You just start thinking about yourself and not really anything else or what's going on. You know, losing jobs and just being irresponsible. But you're right; it's very irrational thinking that comes into play.
And I remember, like, morning afters thinking, what did we fight about? And then I couldn't remember, and it's...
And then even when you do, sometimes you're like, why did I?
Yeah. Why was it such a big deal?
This little thing, like your shoes untied, Nicole, come on. God, don't you know how to put on shoes? I mean, it's silly stuff like that.
It's silly like that, though. And then you're so passionate about it in the moment. It's so embarrassing.
Yeah. Yeah, well.
It is. It's crazy.
So-
It doesn't matter the next day. So.
Well, and there's nothing more selfish than addiction, because you're thinking purely about pleasing yourself.
Exactly.
And then when you add shame and everything else to it, then it just, geez, it's just a recipe for disaster.
It is, and I think that was the biggest thing with me is holding on to a lot of guilt, you know, with my children and just things that I've done in my life that I'm not proud of, or things that I should have done and didn't. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I think there's a lot of guilt that go along with addiction in itself. And I think people hold on to that, and I think that's a hard thing to let go of. I think that's what I'm trying to do right now, is just trying to, I guess, forgive myself for a lot of things that I've been holding on to. And I think it's working. I think Odyssey's helped me with a lot of that stuff. So,
What have you learned about yourself in Odyssey that may that may trigger you, or core values, or
I don't know. I think, you know, I think deep inside, I think I'm a good person. I really care about people a lot. I think sometimes that gets in the way. I think sometimes feelings, I just don't know how to deal with my feelings sometimes. And so I kind of lash out when I get in those, or I isolate a lot. And I'm just I'm really pretty quiet most of the time. So this is new for me to even be talking a lot, you know what I mean? So it's brought me out of my shell being sober.
I've heard some of your peers say, well, you're sort of quiet, and well, you're a nice guy, and everybody seems to like you, you know.
Yeah.
For you sober, you know.
Yeah, for me being sober, that's one thing I like about Odyssey a lot, though, because a lot of the people I've met there and a lot of the friendships and stuff that I've made are really neat because we don't know each other in the bad times. You know, we only know each other for now and here we are. And I think that's really cool to build on relationships like that because we've all got a different story, but it all relates around the same stuff. You know what I mean? And so nobody's really any different. And I think it's easy to do, you know, to build solid relationships with people like that because you can be honest with them. You know what I mean? I don't think I could be honest with my family before, you know, growing up in a religious community like Utah and stuff. It's hard. So a lot of things are really just kind of stuffed down, you know, what I talk about a lot. But I think as I'm coming out of my shell a little bit, that's really what Odyssey's helped me out with probably the most.
That's great.
Yeah.
And to do it sober.
And to do it sober, yeah.
I always felt like I was coming out of my shell when I was drunk.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your next steps?
Well, I'm a navigator now, so I'm getting close to getting out, and I'm going to go to sober living. I've talked to voc rehab and stuff. I got some appointments. I'm going to get into school. And obviously with the Jets, I want to go into that line of work. So
Very cool.
I really think, you know, I got something to offer people, which is something I've never felt like before. So Odyssey's helped me out with just self-esteem and just stuff like that mostly.
I think going to outpatient and doing the sober living thing, I just see people be so much more successful doing like that step down of like residential, all the rules, and then you go to outpatient and it's still some rules and still the UAs. I think that really helps people.
Well, I need structure in my life. I think the huge thing with Odyssey too, the connection that you can stay with. Like if I'm just going to go back home, I don't know that much would change in the next few months. I might just end up being the same, you know, not having the people that I've been going through this with. I think I got some really good friendships in there that I really want to hang on to, you know, when I get out and stuff. And I think vice versa with them. And I think that's important to have people. Like you were saying, you know, you're an isolator and I'm an isolator, and that's really a bad thing. That's a big trigger for me. When I'm starting to isolate, I know something's going on. But yeah, I think it's gonna be a good thing. I'm excited to kind of move on in his life a little bit, you know.
Good.
And there's so many sober community activities and groups like USARA and Fit to Recover. And I heard there was even sober rugby, and I didn't know that, and sober pickleball, sober golf, sober bowling, sober softball.
That's my thing right there, yeah.
You know, and so you can hang around, and I find it so much easier because I used to hang around a bar every weekend, watch games with buddies, alleged buddies, and just getting drunk. And it's hard to find sober people to hang around when you've had all your friends be drinkers or users.
Yeah, that's very true. I every Sunday we go play softball, and that's a big thing for me. Like after I had my surgeries on my feet and stuff, I just went into a bad depression, and I didn't really do anything for a few years, you know what I mean? And it's just really good to get out now and be active again and find people that are sober that are doing the same thing, laughing and joking and just having a good time without all the substances, you know what I mean? It's been really important in my recovery for sure.
And I think, I don't know if you've noticed it, but the people who go through the program and then go back into their community and their circle of friends that they had before they came in are most likely to relapse.
Yes. Just from what I've seen, I don't know statistics or anything.
Yeah.
But people that don't stay connected and try to go back into their old world or get back to those old girlfriends or try to do all that again, like willpower doesn't exist. It's active doing things that keep you sober.
or the lure of the financial aspect of selling drugs. You know, you think about it.
Yeah.
You know, you're talking about getting out and possibly working for a low wage to begin your step back into the workplace, and whereas you could go out and sell drugs and make thousands of dollars.
Yeah, I think that's a huge allure for a lot of people because it's easy and it's just what we know sometimes as addicts. You know, we deal with that kind of society, you know, the people and stuff, and it is something, you know, that I don't know. I've thought about that, you know, what I'm going to do, you know.
Don't think about it.
No, I mean, just as far as like, I'm not wanting to go back into that kind of lifestyle at all. And so trying to go, you know, back to school and get a degree in something. And like I said, I'd like to work for Odyssey when I get out. So
I think you'd be very good. You know,
thank you.
you're very, at least now, very rational and peaceful. And
Thank you.
how would you describe your character before, when you were lost and using?
Just angry.
Really?
Yeah. Just a lot of things, like I said before, like with just guilt and stuff and things that I haven't talked about or gotten out, you know. It's hard to have a lot of those feelings, especially when you don't really know what you're feeling sometimes. Just being numb, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know. It's nice to be able to feel, I guess, again. Sometimes it's not always that great, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's a lot of bad stuff, but at least I'm feeling and it's coming out, and I think that's good. It's huge for my recovery, I think.
It's huge growth.
Yeah.
You know, and you hear people leaving the program because of a girlfriend or a boyfriend or because a death in the family or things like that. But if you think about it, everybody deals with that.
Yeah.
You know, so it's a poor excuse for going back to the old lifestyle.
Sure. I'm just trying to face things head on now instead of running from everything. And my ex in Colorado, we talk a little bit, and she's real supportive of me, so that means a lot to me too, you know, because I still care about her a lot. So I know that's something I'll have to, you know, face down the road, I guess, sometime, but you know, hopefully I'm ready for that.
You got to set up boundaries in a situation like that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, not hopefully.
No, I'll be ready. You know, it's somebody that I want in my life because we've shared good things, you know what I mean? And she's very, very important to me. So she's definitely going to be in my life, you know? And like I said before, I think it's just my mindset's different. I think I've hit an age in life where it's just it's time for something different, you know what I mean? It's not gotten anywhere 50 years old, and then, you know, I'm in treatment. So I don't know. It's a good and bad thing, but it's mostly been good for me. It's a good experience for sure.
Do you hope to reestablish any contact with your daughters?
Yeah, that was a big thing. That's a big thing for me, actually getting sober. My oldest daughter, she's seen me, you know, kind of at my worst, and my youngest daughter hasn't, but I don't want her to either. And I want my oldest to see me, you know, her dad for who he really is, you know, not under the influence of anything. So yeah, that's a big theme for me, to get back in their lives, try to reestablish a relationship with both of them. But yeah.
When you met with your mom for the first time in 10 years, that must have been fairly emotional, I would think, especially since you came clean on everything that's going on.
I've always been pretty honest with my mom, and even when I'm not, moms just know, you know what I mean? They know what's going on. But it's been really good, and she's just really happy, you know, that I'm doing it finally.
Sure.
And you know, she's got my back 100%. So that helps a lot to have that kind of support too, you know, instead of having people, I don't know, just kind of look down at you and think, oh, you're just gonna mess up again, you know. She's supporting me really well, so it's good.
What about did she enable you or set boundaries or what? Is she weak in that aspect?
I think she kind of enabled me in a lot of ways. Her view was she would rather have me doing things at home rather than driving around, you know, like getting in accidents or, you know, getting in trouble. She actually put put me in prison a couple times because she just felt I was safer there than out on the streets. You know, at least I was alive, is what she used to say. So I think there was times that she enabled me, but there was times she put her foot down too. And no,
I guess if she helped send you to prison.
you know, and I was a little bit angry about that, but I understand, and I'm not.
You think?
Yeah, I don't hold any grudges. That's my mom. So yeah, she did what she thought was best, and she probably was right. You know what I mean? Looking back, so.
That's an interesting thing. I'd rather have you drinking at home than going out and possibly driving. I mean, it's a weird thought.
I see not the logic, but I see what they're trying to say.
Yeah.
But you're sort of saying then it's okay that you're drinking.
I think it's I can't control this. I can't stop you, so at least do it here where you're not going to affect other people.
Yeah, I think that's kind of where
That's all I can see.
mindset was at with that. Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of TV spots right now that the state pays for it, and it's paid for with I think tobacco settlement money. It's the anti-drinking ads, and they're goofy ads, and they're saying, and the bottom line, the tagline is, don't tell your kids that drinking is bad. Tell them it's very bad.
Yeah.
You know, and then it says 9 out of 10 kids who get that message, who hear that message, won't drink. I have trouble believing the facts here. So if somebody would have said that it's not just bad, it's very bad, would that have influenced you not to drink?
I don't know. Probably not. I'm the type that if you say don't do it, I'm probably going to try it. You know what I mean?
I was too.
Yeah, so, and I think that's the problem. You know, it's all fun and games at first, you know, but then it progresses too much.
Yeah.
And alcohol is dangerous. I'm not trying to minimize any other drugs or anything, but alcohol is very dangerous because it's so socially acceptable. And people just don't realize how much of a hold, you know, you understand it. You understand how much of a hold it gets on you. So it is very dangerous, you know. I agree with that.
It's poison. I mean, alcohol is poison.
It's
so you're
very bad.
So it's very, very bad. Maybe that'll get them. Well, you see it on, I mean, TV shows. I mean, I'm talking about like maybe an old-fashioned TV show like Blue Buds, like when the police commissioner would come home to his father and they'd have a talk. They'd always pour a scotch in a drink, and they'd sit there and drink scotch while they had their discussion. Yeah. So it's okay, you know. It just
that's how it's portrayed, is that it's okay, and it is acceptable almost anywhere. You know what I mean? So I think that's why it's so dangerous, because it's so accessible, and people say that it's okay, you know, on TV and stuff like that. Yeah, I think they probably ought to ban some of that stuff off TV, you know.
I think they've tried to control the amount of smoking that goes into a movie or a TV show, because in the old days, in the old movies, everybody smoked.
Yeah.
You know? So maybe it'll change things, but that's it. Go over to the Maverick here and buy a bunch of beer.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, just right down the street. It's
yeah.
Not, you know, you don't have to look for nothing. You don't have to do nothing, just have a little bit of money.
And one of the busiest stores is right across from near Pioneer Park at like 5th South and 3rd or 4th West, you know.
Yeah.
So they cater to the clients. So I appreciate you coming by. And
thanks for having me.
Because people have said you're sort of quiet but you haven't been quiet. You've said some really intelligent things.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. I hope it inspires other people to think about their addicted loved ones, perhaps finding recovery as well, and perhaps doing it before 50.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. Don't wait till you're my age to decide. You know.
Thank you. Thanks for being here. Thank
you very much. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Nicole. Good to see you again.
You too.
Thanks. And thank you for watching and listening to another edition of Odyssey House Journals.